What would the 2028 presidential election look like if both President Donald Trump and former President Barack Obama could run for a third term? Well, we're going to talk about just that today. We're going to start by talking about safe states from Republicans and Democrats both. We'll move over to talk more about the likely states, lean states, and tilt states for each candidate and how this would impact the nation as a whole. So with that said, let's go ahead and start by talking about some of the safe states in this map. So of course, we're looking at states that are going to Democrats by over 15 percentage points. So in a lot of cases, we're talking about states such as Maryland or Washington, California, Oregon, a lot of these states that continue to be very dominant in favor of Democrats and continue to perform really well for them as well. So with that said, I think this is all of the safe Democratic states that we have at this point. And we'll move on over to talk about safe Republican states. So in this case, we're talking about states like Wyoming, Montana, states such as these that are very strong in favor of Republicans overall. So with this said, we're going to be looking at a lot of different states that went to President Obama and then turned around and went to President Trump in 2016. We're going to be talking about specifically a lot of those types of states and how they would impact an election like this. So with that said, I think this is all of the states that we want to characterize as safe for each candidate. At least I believe so. If not, we'll rotate back to this in a moment. So with this said, let's go ahead and move over to likely Democratic states. So these are states that are pretty safe Democrats, but not quite to that 15 percentage point margin. So we're looking at states like Virginia. I think would be really strong for President Obama, but I'm just not convinced that it would be over 15 percentage points. States maybe like New Hampshire. At least this is for the Democratic side. States like Minnesota. I'm also going to go ahead and characterize Nebraska second in that district, in that column as well. Colorado, New Mexico. All of these states, I think, are pretty safe to say that they would be in the Democrats' favor by a pretty substantial margin, but not quite that safe margin yet. So with that said, let's move over and talk about some of the more safe states for President Trump, which would be states like Florida. I believe he would win Florida pretty substantially, probably over 5 percentage points, barely. Probably not like his 2024 victory with 13%. I don't think it would be that big. Maybe somewhere near 2020 margin, 3.4%, probably more than that. Actually, I take that back. Probably like 5%, 6%, something like that. Of course, could be wrong on that personal prediction at this point, but I would say somewhere in that margin. Ohio, also a state that I believe would go to Trump, probably again by 6-7 points. Not too big of a margin, but a substantial one nonetheless. Iowa, I also believe would be in this column. Where we're talking about, I mean, if we go back to 2024, he won it by 13.2%. 2020, he won it by 8.2%. So Trump's continuously won it. The last time it went to Obama, to a Democrat, was Obama, 5.8% in 2012. I just don't think that Obama would be able to bring that margin. I believe it would be similar probably to that of 2020, maybe even 2016, but probably more like 2020, probably less actually, 7% maybe. I'm not sure. Somewhere around that margin is where I would personally predict it. With that said, also want to talk about Maine's second, and then I'll also characterize Maine's all as a likely Democrat because I forgot to do that. So Maine's second district, also a likely Republican as well. And with that, I think that's going to be all that we're going to characterize. Actually, take that back. Alaska as well will characterize in that 5 to 8 percentage point margin. I am a little torn on Texas, if I'm being honest. I think that if we go back and we look continuously time and time again, Trump has performed well here. The closest it's been in recent history was 5.6% in 2020. I, of course, don't believe Obama would win it, but my question, I guess, is, do I think that he would win it? Would Trump win it by over 5 percentage points or not? So actually, I'm going I'm going to say yes. We'll stick with yes in this video, that he would win it in that likely margin, somewhere around 5%, in the low 5.6, something like that. That low likely margin. So with that, let's move over, and we're again talking about the states that we talk about every time the presidential race rolls around: Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. So with these, let's start by talking about Nevada, one that went to President Trump in 2024, but before had been a Democratic state, 3.1% in 2024, went to Biden by 2.4% in 2020. I'm going to say President Obama wins this, not in the likely margin, but a lean Democratic margin, anywhere from 1 to 5%. I think that that prediction, I think, holds steady. I think he would perform really well here, and I think it would be an important race nonetheless. So with that, let's move over and talk about Arizona, a state that President Trump had won in 2016. He won it by 3.5%, won it in 2020. Biden won it in 2020 by 0.31%. And then 2024 come in, Donald Trump won it by 5.5%. With that said, continues to be a dominating force. If we go back to 2012, Mitt Romney won it by 9.1%. 2008, McCain won it by 8.5%, that being his home state. I don't think Obama wins this. I think it's going to be in that lean Republican margin. Of course, subject to disagree with me, feel free to let me know what you think in the comments below, but that's my current prediction as of today on the state of Arizona. With that said, let's move over and talk about Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. I'll start by talking about Wisconsin. A state, again, went to President Trump by 0.86% in 2024. 2020, Biden won it by 0.63. 2016, Trump won it by 0.76. 2012 was the last time it went to Obama by 6.9%. With that said, I think Obama stands the chance to win here. Being a popular former president, I think he wins it probably by that lean Democratic margin. And in fact, I think I'm going to have to say the same about Michigan. Trump won it by 1.4% in 2024. 2020, Biden won it by 2.8%. 2016, Trump only won it by 0.22%. And then Obama won Michigan in 2012 by 9.5%, going back to 2008, won it by 16.5%. So certainly here, also think Obama would win the state in a lean Democratic margin. Let's move over and talk about the state of Pennsylvania, a deciding force in a lot of races here, and certainly not much different in 2028 for a prediction between these candidates. So President Trump won the state of Pennsylvania by 1.7% in 2024. If we go back to 2020, Biden won it by 1.2%. If we go back to 2016, Trump won it by less than a percentage point. 2012 was the last time a Democrat had won it by a solid margin of 5.4% with Obama. And I think that while he doesn't hit this 5.4%, we see Obama win it by a couple points, maybe even 3 percentage points. Ultimately, Obama wins the state of Pennsylvania as well. Again, same margin as Wisconsin and Michigan in that lean Democratic margin, anywhere from 1 to 5%, but my personal prediction would be 2 or 3 points. Could, of course, be up in the 4 or 5 percentage point range. Of course, yeah, it could. But as of today, my prediction would have Obama winning it somewhere around 2 to 3 points. And this already secures Obama the win with 276 electoral votes. But we still have 2 states to talk about in the state of North Carolina and Georgia. I'm going to start by talking about the state of North Carolina. The last time it went to a Democrat was with Obama in 2008, winning it by 0.33%. If we go to 2012, Romney won it by 2 points. 2016, Trump won it by 3.7%. Trump won it by 1.3% in 2020. And it was one of the states that Trump won by 3.2% in 2024. So still a pretty slim margin, especially when we compare it to that of like Arizona or something. And how close it came in 2020, and especially with how unpopular the current administration is, President Trump and his current administration are. If he was running for a third term, I just believe Obama would be able to perform slightly better here, not by a lean Democratic margin, but we're going to do tilt Democrat in the state of North Carolina. And with that leaves us with one last state, and that's the state of Georgia. This one, a very important state too. Biden won it in 2020 by 0.24%. 2024, Trump won it by 2.2%. If we go back to 2016, a state Trump won by 5.1%. 2012, Romney won it by 7.8%. In 2008, McCain won it by 5.2%. But the environment would be a lot different compared to when Obama ran in 2008 and 2012. And Democrats are more likely to win here than they were back then. While Trump won it by a somewhat substantial margin of 2.2% when we compare it to that of like Wisconsin or something. He won it by a pretty decent margin in 2024. I ultimately think, again, with the popularity and such, that Obama would be able to win here, but again, by a very slim margin in that tilt Democratic margin. Of course, I could be wrong on a lot of these predictions. Obama could come in and win Texas or Arizona, or Trump may be able to perform better than I think he would in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. He may even be able to win North Carolina and Georgia. With this said, let me know what you think in the comments below. If there was a world where both candidates could run for re-election for a third term, who do you think ends up winning? What do you think the margins look like? And what do you think each state looks like? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I love reading through your thoughts and having these hypothetical matchups on how a race would turn out. So with that said, again, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to check out other videos on the left and subscribe on the right. Don't forget to check out all the Instagram, TikTok, etc. in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching.